In this video, we'll learn how to create basic statistics with CODAP. We're going to start by clicking here on graph, which will bring down a graph. I want more room to work with this graph and another graph, so I'm going to minimize the source. I can take a look at it whenever I want. I'm not going to minimize this because if I do, I don't have access to the attributes. So instead, I'm going to resize it so I still have access. So now I'm going to resize this window because in a moment I'm going to put another graph underneath it and drag down disparity. So one standard thing that we'll do on a regular basis that statisticians do is add what's called a box plot. We click on the ruler and choose box plot and click off. This right here is the minimum. This is the 25th percentile, meaning 25% of the data is below that number. This is the median. 50% is below that number. This is the 75th percentile. 75% of the data is below that number. And this is the maximum. 100% of the data is below the maximum. If I click on disparity and sort ascending, it says that South Dakota has the smallest disparity with -0.01. However, here it says that the minimum is -0.013. If I click on disparity and edit attributes, I can ask for 3 decimal places, and when I do, now I'll see that the minimum here matches the minimum here, and if I sort descending, that the maximum here of 0.443 matches the maximum here. By the way, it's nice to know that at any point you can undo what you just did or redo. I'm going to bring down a second graph. Just press graph. And I want this to be underneath it, so I'm going to make it around the same size. And put it right here. I'm also going to bring disparity down here. Click, drag, and let go. So it does a dot plot again. Now what I'm going to do is ask for the mean and standard deviation. The mean is the average, and the standard deviation is a measure of spread. We'll learn about that later in the chapter. So if I hover here, I can see that the mean or average of all of the disparities is 0.133 or 13.3%. The standard deviation is the distance from here to here or the distance from there to there, and that distance is 0.117 or 11.7%. Standard deviation is a measure of spread. So for instance, if I hover over this is Rhode Island, which is the maximum. I can click and drag, and when I drag it to the center, the data is less spread out, and when I drag it to the center, notice that this bar moves towards the center and this bar moves to the center. The standard deviation is shrinking because the data is less spread out. Almost always in this chapter, when you get a data set, you're going to want to start by creating a box plot and a dot plot with the mean and standard deviation. And that's how you create all the basic statistics with CODAP.